Unbreakable Bond tells the powerful story of Officer Sarah Mills and her canine partner Rex, who share an extraordinary connection that transcends the boundaries of human-animal relationships. When Sarah is wrongfully convicted of murder and sentenced to death, Rex refuses to accept her fate and embarks on a remarkable journey to prove her innocence and secure her freedom. Officer Sarah Mills stands in a hushed courtroom as the devastating verdict is delivered, sentenced to death. While she maintains her composure, her hands tremble slightly, revealing her inner turmoil. From the back of the courtroom, her loyal German Shepherd partner Rex lets out a mournful whine, sensing the injustice that has befallen his handler. Sarah Mills was no ordinary officer. She was a decorated veteran of the Eastlake County Police Department, renowned for her bravery and integrity. Together with Rex, her partner of 7 years, she had accumulated an impressive record of achievements: 57 felony arrests, 14 missing persons found alive, over 30 kilos of narcotics seized, 3 commendations for exceptional bravery. Their partnership was legendary until the night that changed everything. The prosecution claimed that Sarah had illegally entered Jaden Carter's home without a warrant, pursued the unarmed man when he fled in fear, and shot him twice in the back. Cold-blooded murder, according to them. The evidence against her seemed damning, particularly as her body camera footage from that night was mysteriously corrupted, showing only static. The dashboard camera from her patrol car captured her arrival at the scene, but conveniently cut out just as she approached the house. Key witnesses who had initially reported seeing a weapon in Carter's hand suddenly became unreachable. Despite these suspicious circumstances, Sarah refused to implicate others or blame faulty equipment. "I stand by my actions," she maintained stoically. "I won't drag others down just to save myself." The community was deeply divided over the case. Half the town supported Sarah, wearing blue ribbons and holding vigils for the officer who had protected them for a decade. The other half demanded justice for Jaden Carter, believing the shooting was an execution rather than justified use of force. After just 4 hours of deliberation, the jury returned their verdict: guilty on all counts. As Sarah was led away in handcuffs, Rex lunged forward, barking frantically. Officers restrained the powerful German Shepherd and directed him toward a transport vehicle. Sarah turned back once, meeting Rex's eyes. "It's okay, boy," she called, her voice breaking. "Be a good boy." That night, as Sarah lay on her prison cot staring at the ceiling, Rex paced restlessly in his kennel at the canine facility. Anyone observing him closely might have noticed something unusual in his behavior, not merely anxiety or confusion, but a calculating intelligence as he studied the latch on his enclosure. Life at Eastlake Women's Correctional Facility became a blur of monotony for Sarah. She moved through each day mechanically, eating when instructed, sleeping when the lights went out, speaking only when directly addressed. The other inmates gave her space, recognizing the unmistakable bearing of law enforcement, even in prison blues. Her attorney visited weekly, always bearing the same grim news. The appeals process was failing. Evidence continued to disappear or become inadmissible. Witnesses changed their testimonies. It became increasingly clear that powerful forces wanted Sarah Mills to pay, manipulating the system to ensure she would. Meanwhile, at the K9 facility, Rex's behavior concerned his handlers. He refused to eat, even turning away his favorite treats. Commands that had once received immediate responses now met with blank stares. He spent hours lying by his kennel door, eyes fixed on the exit, displaying extraordinary patience. "Never seen anything like it," remarked Marcus Denton, head trainer for the county's K9 program. "It's like he's in mourning." The staff tried everything, introducing Rex to dogs he had trained with, bringing in new handlers, even consulting an animal behaviorist. Nothing worked. The German Shepherd remained locked in his grief, seemingly unable to accept Sarah's absence. After 3 weeks, administration made their decision. Rex would be declared emotionally unsuitable for service and either rehomed or, if necessary, euthanized. He was too valuable an asset to maintain if he couldn't perform his duties. Potential adopters came and went, experienced handlers, former officers, even a wealthy family offering a life of luxury. Rex acknowledged none of them, either turning away or fixing them with such an intense stare that they inevitably retreated, unsettled by his behavior. "He's waiting," observed Elijah Wilson, a veteran handler approaching retirement. "I've worked with these dogs for 30 years, and I've never seen loyalty like this. That dog isn't just grieving, he's planning." His colleagues dismissed this notion as fanciful. Dogs react and adapt, they argued, but they don't formulate plans. That night, a young handler named Tyler failed to properly secure Rex's kennel after feeding time. The latch, already loosened by Rex's persistent pawing, gave way with minimal pressure. When the midnight check came, the kennel stood empty. The facility erupted into panic. A K9 trained German Shepherd on the loose represented a significant public safety risk. Search teams combed the county, scouring wooded areas, abandoned buildings, and residential neighborhoods. Rex was nowhere to be found. Sarah sat alone in her cell, gazing through the small barred window that offered her only glimpse of the outside world. Tomorrow was scheduled for her execution. With her appeals exhausted and hope extinguished, she had made peace with her fate. The prison had settled into its nighttime routine. Occasional metal doors clanking, guards making their rounds with soft footsteps, the distant murmur of the skeleton crew in the administration office. Then came a sound that didn't belong, a sharp, insistent bark, followed by confused shouts from the guards. Sarah rose slowly from her cot, her heart hammering against her ribs. It couldn't be possible. The barking grew louder, now accompanied by alarm klaxons and the sound of boots pounding on concrete. The prison had initiated lockdown procedures, yet someone, continued moving through the corridors, advancing inexorably toward her cell. Suddenly, a tan and black blur skidded around the corner. It was Rex, his coat matted with mud and burrs, amber eyes wild with determination. Behind him, guards shouted orders, their flashlight beams dancing erratically across the walls. "Rex," Sarah whispered, her voice cracking as she rushed to the bars. "How did you—" Rex pressed himself against the steel barrier separating them. His entire body quivered with emotion, tail wagging so vigorously it seemed it might detach. He licked her fingers through the bars frantically, as if confirming she was real. For the first time in months, tears streamed freely down Sarah's face. "You came for me," she murmured. "You actually came for me." The guards arrived seconds later, weapons drawn, expressions confused at the unprecedented situation. Nothing in their training had prepared them for a K9 officer apparently attempting a prison break. "Step away from the bars," ordered the lead guard, aiming his taser at Rex. "That dog is dangerous." Rex turned, positioning himself between the guard and Sarah, a low growl rumbling in his chest. The message was unmistakable. To reach her, they would have to go through him first. The tense standoff broke only when Warden Michael Greaves entered the cell block, flanked by two senior guards. Having run Eastlake Correctional with an iron fist for 15 years, he believed nothing could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. "Explain this," he demanded, gesturing at Rex, who maintained his protective stance despite being outnumbered. "He's my partner," Sarah replied simply. "We worked together for 7 years. He must have tracked me here." The warden's brow furrowed. "That's impossible. This facility is 20 miles from the K9 Center. Dogs don't do that." "This one does," Sarah answered, a spark of her former fire returning. "Rex isn't just any dog. He knows something is wrong with my case. He knows I'm innocent." Warden Greaves scoffed, but uncertainty showed in his eyes as he studied the German Shepherd. Rex met his gaze steadily, displaying neither fear nor aggression, only resolute purpose. "Get that animal out of my prison," the warden finally ordered, "and make sure Mills is ready for transport at 0600 tomorrow." As guards approached with catch poles, Rex backed against Sarah's cell bars, his growl deepening. One of the security cameras in the corridor swiveled toward the confrontation, its red recording light blinking steadily. The security footage went viral within hours. A K9 officer breaking into a maximum security prison to protect his wrongfully convicted partner on the eve of her execution. The story resonated deeply across the nation. Justice for Sarah trended on every social media platform. News vans surrounded the prison. Politicians who had previously avoided commenting suddenly found their voices. Then came the anonymous email. It arrived simultaneously at the offices of the governor, the state attorney general, and 3 major news networks. A comprehensive digital file containing unaltered body cam footage from the night of Jaden Carter's death, internal department memos discussing its suppression, and bank records showing suspicious payments to key witnesses. The footage revealed a truth dramatically different from what was presented at trial. Jaden Carter had not been unarmed. He had been holding a handgun when Sarah confronted him. He hadn't been fleeing in terror. He had been rushing toward a school playground where children were still playing despite the late hour. And Sarah hadn't shot him in cold blood. She had fired only after repeated warnings and only when he raised his weapon toward the children. Even more damning were memos revealing why Sarah had been targeted. 3 months before the incident, she had reported concerns about narcotics disappearing from the evidence room, drugs that should have been destroyed but somehow reappeared on the streets. Her investigation had been quietly shut down, but she had continued gathering evidence independently, storing her findings in a location known only to her. The state attorney general immediately ordered a stay of execution and launched a new investigation. Within days, 3 senior officers and a deputy district attorney faced arrest on corruption charges. The original judge presiding over Sarah's trial recused himself as questions arose about his connections to the implicated officials. Throughout this unfolding scandal, Rex remained at the center of the media storm, the loyal K-9 who had never abandoned his partner, who had somehow recognized the truth when everyone else accepted the lie. Sarah's exoneration hearing packed the courtroom beyond capacity. Journalists lined the walls, cameras ready to capture this historic moment. In the front row sat Elijah Wilson, the veteran K-9 handler who had first suggested that Rex was planning something extraordinary. Sarah entered wearing civilian clothes for the first time in months, the prison pallor already fading from her face. Beside her walked Rex, head held high, his coat gleaming after professional grooming. Someone had created a special collar for him, bearing his old K-9 badge, polished to a brilliant shine. Judge Eleanor Harmon, brought in from a neighboring district to ensure impartiality, reviewed the new evidence methodically, her expression growing increasingly grim with each revelation. When she finally looked up, the courtroom fell silent. "The justice system failed you, Officer Mills," she announced, her voice carrying clearly through the hushed space. "It failed the people of Eastlake County, and it failed the sacred trust upon which our society depends." She paused, removing her glasses. "Based on the overwhelming exculpatory evidence now before this court, I hereby vacate all charges against Sarah Mills and order her immediate and unconditional release." The courtroom erupted in cheers. Sarah knelt beside Rex, burying her face in his fur, as photographers captured the moment that would appear on front pages nationwide the next morning. "You never doubted me," she whispered. "You never gave up." Rex licked her face once, his tail wagging steadily. In his world of black and white, some truths were absolute. Sarah was his partner. She was innocent, and he would have moved heaven and earth to prove it. 6 months later, Sarah stood on the porch of a modest farmhouse on the outskirts of Millfield, a small town 3 counties away from Eastlake. Behind her, Rex lounged contentedly in a patch of sunlight, his vigilance relaxed now that their lives had found a new rhythm. The settlement from her wrongful conviction lawsuit had been substantial, enough to purchase the 10-acre property and convert the old barn into what was now the faithful companion K-9 Rehabilitation Center. Here, former police dogs struggling with trauma or retirement found new purpose and, often, new homes with carefully screened families. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from Elijah Wilson, who had retired to join her venture as a trainer. A new arrival was expected today, a Belgian Malinois named Stella, who had lost her handler in the line of duty and hadn't worked since. "What do you think, Rex?" Sarah asked, turning to her partner. "Ready to help another find their way back?" Rex rose and stretched, then padded over to stand beside her, leaning gently against her leg as he gazed out at the training field where their new life's work awaited. Some bonds transcend explanation, forged in fire, tested by darkness, and ultimately unbreakable. Sarah rested her hand on Rex's head, feeling his solid warmth beneath her palm. "Together," she said softly, "always together." Rex looked up at her, his amber eyes reflecting absolute trust and devotion, and in that moment Sarah knew with bone-deep certainty that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as they had always done. side by side, partners forever.